My favorite thing about Shipt since I signed up for Target Circle 360? No price markups when I order same-day delivery from tons of local stores. Only a handful of alcohol retailers and items don't count. I won't lie, I've had too much fun being like, markups on groceries? Not in my fridge. Markups on pet food? Not for my DOG. Markups on tools, electronics, home goods, meds? Not in my house. Anyway, it's awesome. Order now at shipt.com/360. Terms apply.
You don't technically need this car. You say that out loud to yourself. You say, I have no space. You say, I'm just looking. Then you click. Then you zoom in on photo number 87 and whisper, oh no. Then you text a friend, the one who always enables you. You say to yourself, this is the last one, knowing it is not. You don't need this car. But maybe, just maybe, this car needs you. Bring a trailer. It's never just a car.
Imagine that this line represents a time, present 1985, future, past. Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985. Alternate to you, me, and Einstein. Fuck reality for everyone else.
Welcome, travelers. I'm Jeremy. I'm your host tonight, your only host tonight on this Halloween special for 2025. Like we do every year, we cover an urban legend. Well, you're getting quite the bonus this year because we're not just doing one, we're doing a whole book's worth. And we're going to sit down with the author today to go over his work. So, we are thrilled today to be joined by a fascinating voice in the world of the strange and unexplained, author Michael D. Winkle, a researcher and writer with a long-standing interest in the mysteries of the natural world. Michael is known for his work spanning science fiction, anthologies, and his co-authorship of Mothman Evil Incarnate with cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman. Today, he is here to talk about his latest deep dive into the weird and wonderful, a meticulously researched collection of nearly 200 tales of cryptids, mythological creatures, and bizarre biological discoveries. Please give a warm welcome to the author of the absolutely captivating new book, Beasts Beyond Belief, Sneaky Werewolves, Flying Cats, and Accidental Apes. Welcome back to Infinite Rabbit Hole. All right, Mike, how's it going, man? How you doing?
Well, it's doing pretty good now. All the hype is starting to ebb away, so I have more time to do other things.
I'm sorry. So just to kind of give everybody a little bit of a background, we've tried to record this episode twice before with Jeff and just couldn't get it to work. We were having some internet connectivity issues. So you guys may go and listen to this episode and be like, well, why didn't we get to listen to this one live? Well, that's because I stole Michael and I said, I'm going to have them all to myself tonight. And I'm not going to give Jeff any of the fun. So, Mike, I hope that's okay with you. But it seems like we're rolling pretty good right now.
So far.
So far, so good. There it is. Yep. Man, if we can't do it this way, then I guess I'm going to have to try to do the Zoom thing. I'm really trying hard not to do it. Yeah. So, Mike,
Yes.
I have some initial questions for you. I actually have a group of 10 different topics of questions for you. I have a lot of them because I am actually a huge fan of this book. It's not very often that I get to just talk about a book of collections, right? So you have a book that's literally a collection of stories and details regarding urban legends, cryptozoological creatures, mythologies, and just like one-off situations. And my favorite example specifically of the latter there is the flabbit, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. I've already told you multiple times that I love the flabbit. I actually have a stuffed flabbit coming in the mail here soon. I found a really cool one, and he's going to sit up on my bookshelf over here. I'm really excited about it. So you're the reason why, and just want to say thank you.
Well, I was happy to dig them up out of the old newspaper archives and the Tulsa Tribune, and
Oh yeah, and we'll get into that. But for now, I just want to start off with some introductory questions, right? This way people can get introduced to you and understand a little bit about you and the origins of your book, right? So to start, your new book has a striking title, right? Beasts Beyond Belief. Sneaky werewolves, flying cats, and accidental apes. And for those that are watching the video, here it is right here. So when you go on to Amazon or wherever you buy your books, this is the cover that you're looking for. It is phenomenal. I have a couple of pages tabbed for research purposes for later projects. I will be using his book heavily. But when did you realize you had a book-length collection of these incredible tales on your hands?
well, I've been collecting all these stories since the late 60s, I suppose, and I was always interested in animals, so I would notice if something had to do with an animal. I mean, besides, obviously the cryptids, which are strange animals not recognized by science, but people reported the ghost animals, and especially dogs, and animals seem to have bad encounters often with the paranormal, just like human beings. So they just accumulated with everything else, and I started picking them out and putting them together. I noticed little things like, boy, these cat ghosts are a lot stranger than most of the normal ghost stories you hear about.
It really is. Speaking of, just while we're on the topic of cat ghosts, there was one story that you included. Now, forgive me, I haven't read your book in probably over a month now. It's been a minute, but there was a story in South America, somewhere in South America, am I correct? Or Latin America, somewhere in that area, regarding a flying cat. You want to talk about that one a little bit?
See, the main flying cat story I can think of was actually in the South Pacific on a small island.
Well, maybe that may. Okay, you're right. It was one of the Malaysian islands, right?
Yeah, you see. Of course, I've forgotten the name of the island already, but it was near Tahiti because the main person met the Queen of Tahiti at one point. So
Yes.
in fact, I could probably flip through this book and find it in a second if it's.
It was interesting because we've covered Phantom Black Dogs before on this show, and it had a very Phantom Black Dog-esque kind of detail at the end of it. So the researcher ended up coming across one of them with a buddy of his in his bungalow on the patio. And then I think it was the next day when the locals came running up and asked them to come over to the beach. Is that jogging the memory a little bit?
Yeah, the island's name was Manga Riva, which isn't that famous, but again, it's near Tahiti. So, but
Yes.
This writer, he was an author as well. I mean, an artist as well, and even one of his paintings is in the Smithsonian, I believe. And he wanted to come to the island to learn all the customs and folklore and legends. And the people there told him that the spirits of the island liked him, and they gave him a name that meant like the friend of the spirits. And this friend of his, who's also an American, was very materialistic, and he had originally come to the island to build plantations and stuff, and that failed, and he married a local girl and just settled down. And his reason for not wanting to believe any of this supernatural stuff is because he was afraid he would just become totally native and no longer a technological person of the 20th century. So sort of like two different types of personalities running into things.
Yeah, on the island of Mangariva, they called one of their spirits their tupapaus, and there was a particular name that they derived from that title for the gentleman with the last name Eskridge. It was Fiti T Tupapau. It's very interesting because the flying cat was very odd, and there were multiple aspects of the paranormal that accompanied it. It was that this flying cat was kind of curled up in a ball floating over his friend's head. That's how his friend initially discovered this thing. And then they both saw this while they were out at the patio at his friend's bungalow, they saw this chalk outline man coming out of his like tool shed or something, like a garden
It's
shed.
a separate kitchen is what they have down there. That's what.
Yes, the separate
Well,
kitchen.
I mean, if you thought of a flying cat, you might think of one with wings flying around, but the description was certainly stood out when I was reading this book, and they said the flying cats looked like they were just lying somewhere and curled up by a fire. I've actually seen wax candles or decorative figures that are just like that, and like spin around like a frisbee as they were going by and going up into the trees, and there was the materialistic fellow who saw it first, and he just couldn't stand it anymore. He had to tell his friend, Mr. Erskine, and so I think they both saw it eventually, or as well as the chalk outline man.
Yeah.
And they all they could do is tell what they saw. And I've heard someone suggest that it was just a bat that flew by. They saw, or with a baby, and they saw the baby curled up with the mother bat, and saw the head of the baby bat, thought it was a cat curled up, and. Of course, I argue that people who are living for years on a South Sea island ought to know what a bat looks like, because that's one of the first living creatures that can reach an island, along with the palm trees or for the plants.
We'll take a step off the islands here. We'll kind of just cover a broader range of topics here. The book covers a huge range too, from well-known cryptids like Bigfoot to much more obscure local legends. How did you go about deciding which of these creatures made the cut for the book?
Well, the theme was mostly animals, so it wasn't just cryptids, but animal ghosts and just odd scientific things like trying to clone a woolly mammoth nowadays, and touching upon a coelacanth, which we know exists, but there were some odd details about its discovery. Basically anything animal related, if I could make it animal enough, like I think Bigfoot just barely rates as an animal. It's more like a hairy humanoid. So, and of course I had a lot of book to fill, so I just kept spreading out, and
Yes, you did.
anything seemed bizarre or odd or having to do with animals. And that's why I like the word Fortean after Charles Fort more than paranormal or anything else, because that always covers everything, because Fort was interested in strange artifacts and objects falling out of the sky, and as well as psychic powers and monsters and disappearances. So anything under that umbrella,
Yeah, he was kind of a jack of all trades.
That had to do with animals, I went toward it.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, he loved unknown, like I wouldn't say unknown, not completely understand branches of science as well. So like he was big into quantum physics and radio signals and a lot of really cool things where back in the day when he was alive wasn't very well known. I mean, we still don't really know quantum physics that well. We have a much better grasp on radio technology now, with the ultra high frequency, very high frequency, and then all the low frequency waves. But back then that was pretty mysterious to him, and he really was a literal jack of all trades when it came to the world of the unknown, mysterious, and frankly, the Fortean, which is great. But you've done an incredible amount of research on this book. Can you walk us through your process for researching, let's say, like the accidental ape or vampire cat? And are you consulting classic cryptozoological texts, obscure local folklore, or are you using some sort of different source for all your material?
Well, it seems like books especially that I bought when I was a kid in 60s and 70s are now very obscure and unusual, but I still have them. And the accidental ape, for instance, was in Phantasms of the Living, which is an enormous book published in the 1880s by the Society for Psychical Research, and most of it are glimpses or like telepathic foresights or ordinary glimpses of people who weren't there at the time, or just ordinary ghosts. But that one stood out as very strange and bizarre, with this ape-like creature that was just a figure in a story suddenly sort of forming into existence of some sort. So I said, well, that sort of stands out to me, so I'll put that in the book.
Very good. That's great. And I see that you have a collection of books there that makes mine look pitiful.
It's probably getting close to 4,000
I'm
again.
jealous.
Might have to prune it.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I would be there all day. I could probably spend a weekend back there and still have things I wanted to look at.
And there were like little kids' books from like the Scholastic Book Company that I'd send off for when I was a little kid in grade school, because they come out once a month with their little catalog of books, and you can put some titles there and get them for like 60 or 75 cents. I'm still trying to find the origins of some of the stories in those after 55 or 60 years. And
yeah, oof.
Finally tracked down some. A lot are just accidental. Like I'll buy here's a famous old book. There's that story. The Hideous Glowing Maggot of Doom. Yes, I've been looking for that for 50 years.
Hideous Glowing Maggot of Doom. I love it.
Should have put that in there.
That is awesome.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. New players, new games, new rules. Squid Game, The Challenge returns for a gripping second season. 456 contestants from all walks of life, competing in the ultimate test of strategy, alliances, and endurance. For a life-changing prize of $4.56 million. With stakes this high, why make friends when you can make millions? Watch Squid Game, The Challenge Season 2, only on Netflix November 4th.
Hey there, it's Dr. Sanjay Gupta with some exciting news to share. CNN is now streaming. That means you can read, watch, and stream everything in one subscription. You can watch news live 24/7. You can also explore catch-up videos and explainer videos. And you can also watch the library of CNN's originals, including my latest documentary, It Doesn't Have to Hurt. Just go to cnn.com/all access.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana. Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku. And it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Well, maybe if there's a second book, I'll put it in there. So.
Number one.
But
there you go.
Man,
I like it.
Named Bernard Herwood, I think is his name. He wrote a lot of little books for kids that seem kind of strange these days. Books about werewolves and monsters and serial killers, like for 3rd grade. And there were a lot of monsters and ghost stories in those books that were supposedly true, and he would just present them and that's it, and not tell where he got them from or anywhere. And I felt it my duty to hunt down the original stories if I could find them. And I've heard...
Well, good luck. That'd be interesting.
Several people have mentioned, I've asked, on throughout the internet and about some of these stories, and their opinion was that he probably just made them up because they're only like a page long and they're for 3rd or 4th graders for this little paperback. And surprisingly, he didn't, but he gave no clues to where he got them.
Well, that's interesting, for sure. Well, I'll be looking forward to your sources in your next book to see where you got to dig up that information from. I'll love it.
I'm also the sort of person who'll buy a new book and on something that's been done before, like Bigfoot or something, and I'll say, where did he get these stories? And I'll go to the bibliography and see where he got everything, and I'll go to those books if I can find them and look at their bibliography, or at least see where the author got them.
I'm the same way. I am the exact same way. I spent a lot of time in your bibliography. You put them, I believe you had them at the end of each chapter, right? Yes, you did.
Easier to keep them together that way.
I like it. It's a good format. Very good. So how did you get into the love of the mysterious creatures and the stories behind them. Where did Mr. Winkle get his affinity for this material?
Well, I always liked monster and ghost stories and on TV, and I'll often say that my earliest memory is being plopped down in front of a TV when I was probably like barely 3 years old, and the all the aunts and uncles were stepping around and talking like giants, and the TV itself seemed to be as big as a barn to me. My memory is I could barely stand up then, but they were on that day they were playing Rodin, the Flying Monster, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world, seeing this pterodactyl fly around and knock down buildings and attack
That's
jet
awesome.
planes. And, well, just anything, comic books, those scholastic books, and stories in the newspaper, if they were weird and had monsters in them, I'd read them or watch them. But something really amazing happened when I was about, I don't know, 7 or 8, and the Gulf Oil Company got the gas stations that I don't think are around anymore. They started putting out these monthly or quarterly Disney magazines having to do with Disney movies and TV shows, and I like those too, so I coerced my father into stopping at Gulf and buying them every couple of months. He didn't want to, because he said they overcharge all their stuff. Which is strange, because he was the head accountant for Gulf Industries. Well, he would know, but I got a hold of one. It was a Halloween issue, and it was about famous ghosts of the United States. And I was reading this article, and they were treating them like they were true. And mentioned that people, sort of the people working on the magazines, what their experiences were, and how one of their grandmothers saw a man who was shooting down the street as if riding a bike, but there was only the top half of him. They had a nice little picture with that.
Oh, man.
It went in front of their horse and buggy, because that was a long time ago, but they had a nice drawing of this person shooting along, floating about 3 feet off the ground, with only from the waist up. There's nothing else. And that really freaked me out, that I had no idea up to that point that people actually claimed to have seen ghosts. So that was a major revelation. So from then on.
Nice. So you just kind of got you hook, line, sinker there then, huh?
It's only been
So
a
have
year
you
or so
ever had
that
an
I actually got a
experience
hold
yourself?
of a copy of that very magazine, so I have it now.
Well, that's cool. That's a nice little bit of a nostalgia right there.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a sighting for yourself?
I've had a lot of things that might be and might not be. A couple of years ago, I got an excellent book. It was called Disembodied Voices, which studied the phenomenon of people hearing voices calling their name or talking from the woods or someplace. And this person counted one of these scary entities as a guy who went out into his backyard and heard someone. There was supposed to be no one around for miles, and he heard someone whistling the Woody Woodpecker song. And I said, well, if the Woody Woodpecker song counts, then what happened to me counts. That's when I was about maybe 5 or 6, and my grandmother in Eufaula, Oklahoma, went out to visit some friend of hers way out in the country, and I was too shy to go in and meet the people, so I stayed in the front yard where all these chickens and their little chicks were running around. I wanted to chase the chicks and hold them and maybe take one with me. So I was chasing these chicks, and they seemed to be almost leading me out toward the road and to the dirt road way out here in the country. And I actually got out to the dirt road, and there weren't that many trees, but you could see for miles. It was mostly cow pastures and stuff. And just a few pine trees, and suddenly I heard this loud, crazy, screeching laugh, and it seemed quite near, but there was nothing to see and no place to hide. And have you ever heard of the Scarecrow of Romney Marsh, also from Walt Disney? They had a song that went with it. It was a record, and at the end there's this incredibly loud, frightening screech of a laugh, and that was almost the same thing. And after still looking around, there was only some fence posts and cow pastures and trees. I was sure the Scarecrow was after me, so I ran over to the house, and I jumped under the front porch and hid there in the mud until my grandmother was ready to go home. So that was about the freakiest thing that ever happened to me.
I say it's cool because I had something cool as a kid. Well, looking back on it, it's cool now, but when you're a kid, it's not. But it's also, something that really was my vector into loving this stuff as well. So it's always cool to hear other people's stories. If you had to pick just one creature from the book that still gives you pause, a story that you truly can't rationally explain, which one would it be?
Let's see. Well, rationally explain means I'm sure it happened and somehow goes against what we know of science, and so it's hard to pick one.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'd have to vector.
Well, I'll tell you one of my favorites. One of my favorites from your book is the guinea pigs. Those things, that is such a cool story. Or the hamster. Was it a hamster? I believe it was a
golden
hamster.
hamster that just appeared near Aleppo in the Near East.
Very, very interesting topic. And I tried looking up more information on it, and it seems like you got a pretty decent chunk of information for what's out there. It's pretty much complete in your book. And for those that are wondering what I'm talking about, there is this city, right? City?
Aleppo, I think it's in Turkey. I'm not sure. It's at the eastern end of the Mediterranean, I believe, near the shore.
Well, there is stories or examples of people seeing wild golden hamsters in the city, and they only have these encounters with these golden hamsters I can't remember exactly what the time frame was, but it seemed to be regular intervals. There you go, about 30. So a golden hamster, it doesn't exist in the wild, right outside of this one city.
Just around this one
and
city.
The city it's
and the hills around it.
And the city itself and they only see it in the wild every 30 years or so, which then you bring up the idea of John Keel's windows theory, which is basically the theory that parallel worlds or a world parallel to ours comes into contact with ours, creating a sort of a window into, or I guess like the modern term for it would be like a portal, right? Where the two,
it's like a doorway
membranes,
between
if you will,
that opens briefly, and I suggested the really small portal for hamsters running through.
For the little hamsters, right? So the theory that's kind of talked about regarding Aaroni's hamsters is that they could potentially be from one of these parallel worlds and coming over to ours during, one of these regularly intervaled events described by John Keel, where the membranes of the two universes come in contact with each other, creating a window roughly every 30 years, which is absolutely phenomenal. I love that. I love that so much.
Well, it's
I really
even
do.
different than other supposed creatures coming through, because I'm sure golden hamsters are one of the most common pets in the world, and all of them are descended from one family, one mother and its children, that was caught about 1930 or so. And the others that have been caught since it's only happened a few other times in history, but that's such a, they could probably take over the world if they were left untreated, unchecked, and kept multiplying.
I'm sure they would.
But that's such a common animal and pet, might have a bizarre origin. This seemed pretty extra interesting. And that's another story from my childhood, since I read this book about pets about 1968 or so, and just had an aside about how all these golden hamsters and all the pet stores in the world came from this one little family, and it's never been seen before or since.
That is so cool. It really is. It makes you think. It really does. Like they say that there's a lot of theories about Loch Ness Monster, Nessie, being one of these window or parallel world creatures too, where the phenomenon just occurs at a much higher rate than 30 years, like the one in Aleppo. I don't know. It's a very, very interesting theory, and I've talked about John Keel so many times here on this podcast, and I can't recommend it enough to my listeners. You really need to go and step out and check out John Keel. If you haven't read all of his work yet, you really need to. There's some really obscure stuff that probably could be skipped over, but everything from judo on really is just amazing stuff. Just to go along on his journey of discovering his love for this stuff and discovering that there's things out there that we can't explain is fascinating. And to hear some of those theories, I mean, I don't know if we'll ever have a mind like John Keel again. I hope, I hope I'm wrong, but it would be really cool for somebody to get out there and do the John Keel thing like he did.
And I have a project that's been going on for 50 years or so, and partly inspired by a dream I had. And the dream was when I was 10, 11 years old, I found Strange Creatures from Time and Space, which is one of his books. And I dreamt, and I'm sure you have it back there.
I do.
And I dreamt I'd found a book, and it was the expanded edition of Strange Creatures. I even remember what the cover looked like. There's like an old-timey, Old West a passenger train going across a trestle, and standing in the canyon of this trestle was a Tyrannosaurus Rex that was as high as the trestle in the train, and looking at us as if it were about to attack. And I was amazed to find this, but then I woke up, and then I decided it was my life's work was going to be finding every reference in that book and expanding it and putting the whole thing into one compendium. And I was almost ready to, well, not publish it, but print out my own version of it about 2020. And then I realized I had missed something very important. They had the Flying Saucer Review was starting to put their old issues online, and I started flipping through some of them, and I said, well, there's like 30 or 40 reports that Keel took straight from the Flying Saucer Review, so I'm going to have to look at all those now.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd ever seen a copy of the Flying Saucer Review.
That's so cool. I'll have to look up some of those too. I didn't know that they were online. That's really neat.
Maybe for the 60th anniversary I'll have it done.
Let's go with this question. What is the most bizarre or humorous creature you encountered during your research?
Most bizarre. The ordinary cats certainly got weird, like the cat with the detachable head. That was strange. And
yes, that was very
the curled
strange.
up asleep cats that are flying around is also pretty strange. And the Willington Mill cat that would first came up like a regular cat until the guy kicked it, and it came back jumping like a bunny rabbit. He kicked it again, and then it came back the size of a tiger, and it was time for him to go. And somebody else saw the cat at the mill sliding around like a snake on the ground, not using its legs. So those are some very odd cats. But as for the creatures themselves, there's a lot of bizarre creatures. It's hard to pick from all of them. But
so your book features cryptids that are essentially modern folklore alongside creatures with deep mythological roots like werewolves. What difference did you notice in how these older classical myths are treated versus newer modern?
We all love a legendary comeback, and Degree Original Cool Rush is back and better than ever. Cool Rush isn't just a scent, it's a movement, a fan favorite that delivers bold, fresh vibes and all-day sweat protection. Whether you're heading to the gym, the office, or just trying to stay fresh on a long day, Cool Rush has your back. So if you haven't tried it yet, head to your local Walmart or Target and grab Degree Cool Rush, the fan favorite scent from the world's #1 antiperspirant brand.
Myths or lore?
Well, by modern people, of course. They're the older the myth, the more obviously it must be fictional or mythological. Closer to reality, they tried to make it like urban legends, more local, and try to make it sound more believable. Because a lot of people don't believe in these monsters or ghosts or anything when they take people out to try and scare them on lovers' lanes. So they have to try and make it sound a little more, but not much more believable. But they'll still convince people there's a goat man out there or something. Go looking for it. I'm not sure how much the people of ancient times believed in their own mythological creatures, like if they thought there was a Gorgon out there somewhere and were afraid of it. Medieval legends are different because most of those were believed in at some point. And of course, I've found people who absolutely did not believe me when I told them that these urban legends were false. Even when I brought in like Jan Harold Brunwald's books on urban legends and showed them the story they were passing around the workplace, and it had been told here and there in Utah and California and New York and was demonstrably false. And she said, I remember that. This actually happened over in Broken Arrow. And she started talking to her coworkers, telling about this absolutely true story that was in this book. And it said, this is fake. So there are people who really take them to heart, I guess.
Oh, yes. Definitely. If anybody wants to see good examples of them, just go to Facebook. The Facebook groups are full of them. So let's go to a more cultural question. Do you see a common psychological need or cultural anxiety reflected in the types of monsters that tend to appear in different regions or at different times in history? Are you seeing any correlation?
Well, it does seem like there's a deep-set need for certain monsters or creatures or supernatural beings because they appear in all cultures. I mean, like the wild men of Europe and, of course, the Yeti of the Himalayas and hairy wild men from almost every continent. And things that you wouldn't expect, like mysterious black panthers that are reported almost everywhere nowadays. And people will always preface that. Instead of saying, I saw Bigfoot, they'll have to give this little preface saying, I know there's not supposed to be large cats around here, but we saw this black panther the other day running across our farm. And the fact that they would always say the words black panther instead of just a leopard or a African lion or something like that is always interesting, because since I've explained before, I am sure in the book, that there's no such species as black panther. They're occasional I guess, mutations of leopards and jaguars.
Yeah, melanistic.
And there's either none or just one melanistic cougar, which is found in the United States, ever recorded, so it probably wouldn't be that. So that seems to be something independent. It actually exists and people have seen it, but there are all sorts of legends and ghost stories that seem to appear in almost every region of the earth, so they're both cultural and maybe real at the same time. Like I've heard people, try to figure out the cultural or mythological or psychological value of such and such a creature and what it plays in the society and how it serves like something for the hero to attack or to scare children from dangerous places. But I would say, what if that actually exists and it doesn't really care what value it has to your society or stories, and it's just there doing its thing, and people see it. So, but somehow they'll accept it into their stories and culture and add stories around it.
Oh, yes. So let's take a trip outside of the book for a minute. Due to your involvement in the book Mothman, Evil Incarnate with cryptozoologist legend Lauren Coleman, how does the level of documentation and witness testimony for the Mothman, a relatively modern phenomenon, compare to the historical accounts of older creatures, like your creature that you included in your book, the Chuckalunko monster?
Well, when Mothman finally got popular in the 70s, a lot of the eyewitnesses were still alive, and so they've gone back, and I've seen, I think, there's books like Mothman Behind the Red Eyes from people who actually lived in the area, and they've gone back. And there's those that, well, those were interesting because they have the actual pictures of the actual handwritten notes and drawings of the original witnesses, and they agree with, like, John Keel's reports from the 1970, and even Gray Barker, who is notorious for altering things, was pretty close to...
Very notorious.
Was actually pretty close to what they described in their original notes of the witnesses. Well, just seeing photographs of the actual areas was always interesting to me, because this is like something my daddy would have told me when I was a little baby who's trying to get me to go to sleep, and suddenly there is in reality, there's actual photographs of the place, and it's astounding. It's like the little cricket who got lost. The actual picture of, because that was a story he liked to tell me all the time. And of course they find the archives of the old newspapers from Point Pleasant, which may not even exist anymore except when people cut them out and put them in their scrapbooks, and those have been saved. So it certainly gives a feeling of reality to these stories I've heard for decades, but were just a story in a book, basically, for me.
Very cool. Let's go with, well, if you could send a well-funded international research team to one location to definitively definitively prove the existence of one creature in your book, which creature would it be and where would you send them?
That's another interesting thing, because if there are such things as the window theory, they may not be there all the time to be found.
Very true.
I sort of suspect that some of the cryptids from South America and Central Africa may be physically there most of the time. Possibly something like
Talk about like a Makele Mbebe?
yeah, no, it's like the idea of a giant ground sloth still being alive in the Amazon. Several creatures could be alive in the Amazon that we don't know about that are quite spectacular.
The giant ground sloth, that's the Mapaguari, right?
That's one of the monsters they claim might be it. And of course, we know that they found this cave that had mummified giant sloths in it. Like the skin was still covered with fur and still pliable, like leather, instead of being fossilized. So that would be in the
Very
Patagonian region, I believe, of Argentina.
Very southern.
So I would probably send an expedition somewhere, either the Amazon or Patagonia, and looking for, ground sloths or the Sasquatch-like creatures that like to rip apart cattle. Well, then you could probably put a big net in the river, Amazon River, and catch something you've never seen before.
That's probably true too. Yeah. That's a good point. So are you in belief that these creatures are out there?
Well, like Charles Ford himself, I don't like to use the word believe because it implies I accept something without any evidence. But the fact that
Good.
people generations apart report seeing the same thing, and there are people who, in the pre-internet age at least, have probably never heard of anybody else seeing it or ever read a book on the subject, and they have the same sort of details. It's like any other scientific phenomenon that is built up on observations. So I tend to think there is something there, but the way these things exist, they may not be there all the time when you want to go out there and see them or catch them. And I think there is definitely a phenomenon that people experience, but whether it's an actual physical creature or not, I couldn't really tell you.
Good stance to have. See here. We're eating through them, man. Eating through them. I have one that kind of just popped up. I didn't have a question set for this, but I wanted to talk about specifically the chapter on the dinosaurs in the western states. I believe it was New Mexico. I could be wrong there. Let me open up your book here. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Certainly, I was really excited about those because it almost looked like that dream picture on the cover of the book I dreamed about. So I want to see dinosaurs in the American West. Come on, they're out there somewhere. You can report them, someone.
Yeah, there's this one area where there were dinosaurs being seen. I think it was 3 times by the same person.
Yes.
But they also had other people witness them with them. Especially there was one in a car. There was an event where the person witnessed one of these dinosaurs in a car with somebody else.
Forget the woman's name. She was
absolutely
old by that time, but she was telling about several encounters since the 1930s with what appeared to be dinosaur-like creatures, and it was published in a Sunday paper in Colorado or New Mexico. I'm not sure which. I don't remember. And it was that was repeated in the Fortean Times about 1982. And for a long time, it was just a couple of paragraphs, but this one researcher hunted her down, and it sounds like he dragged her all over the western states to find these other witnesses and chased down the stories. The incident when she was in the car with somebody else seeing one, that happened after her letter had been printed in 1980, about 1978 or so. And I noticed one.
The chapter is titled
report.
Colorado Raptors. The chapter is titled Colorado Raptors, and it is it's fascinating. It even goes into like the correlation between the stories with the Apache moon cow, which is fascinating. And if they had stories of these things, well, I thought
we could get away with it this time, but
Let's
Yeah,
go
about
ahead
45
and,
minutes so far.
let's go ahead and wrap it up. I got through most of my questions for you. I feel like that went really well. I'll get it all edited and put it out for Halloween. So, before we log off for the night, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, your socials, website, your Patreon, everything. Let's tell the listeners of the Infinite Rabbit Hole where they can find Michael Dane Winkle.
Well, I've been working to improve all that. That's sort of in a flux at the moment, but right now I can't even affect my website, but it's there at it's called fantasyworldproject.com. That's just one word. It was mostly just what it says. I was documenting this fantasy world that I write stories about as it was happening, so that's the project. And Patreon, I'm also under Fantasy World Project, I believe, but if you go in and type in Michael Dane Winkle, I'm sure it'll show up. And I don't even remember a lot of the call numbers of, like my, let's see, and my publishers has been saying, get on more platforms.
Well, I think your website's good enough. I'm on it right now. This is pretty easy to get through. I don't see social links, but any social links? Nope, I don't see any on here. But you have plenty of stuff on this website from all of your books here. This
should be able to get to Patreon from there. And let's see here.
Yep, I do see the
my
Patreon.
My blog should be a link to my blog that I just sort of set up.
All right. Yep. All right. I got it.
All of which need to be updated.
Well, Michael, I appreciate you. I really do. I'm happy that we were able to get this interview in. I can't say it enough. Anybody listening to this, there's a reason why I dedicated the entirety of the Halloween special to Michael and his book. The book, once again, is called Beast Beyond Belief. If you're looking for a book that encompasses all of the unknown, this is really good for you. And it goes beyond the common, everyday talked about cryptid, Bigfoot, Mothman, a chupacabra, right? It dives into a lot of the nooks and crannies of the world where, for some reason, others aren't talking about. And Mr. Winkle here does a phenomenal job at putting this together. Very, very good. I'll be looking for more of your work to come out in years to come, and I really do look forward to that. But Mike, I just wanted to say one more time,
more little anecdotes I could use every day. So
good. I hope it keeps coming to you. But I just wanted to say one more time, thank you so much. Thank you. I love the book. It was a great interview. Learned a lot from you, man. Whether it was tonight or over the time period I was reading your book, I really did learn a lot, and I look forward to learning more from you.
Thanks for all your kind words and how you've been spreading the word about the book.
Oh, yes. I told a lot of people about it. A lot of people. Hopefully it gets you some book sales, because this book does deserve to be read and used. It's really, really good content. But all right, Mike, do you have anything else to say to the listeners?
Well, just go out there and look for those cryptids.
All right.
Maybe you'll be the one to catch one.
All right.
An easy one, like a little rabbit with wings.
Yeah, like the flabbit. I love it. All right. Well, that has been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. Happy Halloween, everybody. Stay safe out there. Watch your kiddos and try not to eat too much candy. What am I saying? Go ahead. Eat it. Eat it all. Just eat. I'm gonna overdose on Reese's peanut butter cups anyways. I can't tell you not to do something, but I'm gonna go do it myself. So until next time, travelers, my name is Jeremy, and I'm the host of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. And we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. If you're looking for more of our stuff, head on over to infiniterabbithole.com, where you can find links to all the podcast players that we are available on, and even our video platforms such as TikTok and YouTube. While you're there, make sure to check out all the links for our socials and hit that follow so you know when all the new stuff from our podcast comes out. And until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of The Infinite Rabbit Hole. Goodbye.